Welcome to Ellis B. Feaster's Radio Air Check and Classic TV channel.
Well, I guess the man on the other end of the line has heard that how many thousands of times. Benny Goodman, how are you?
Pretty good. I've heard it once before. Have you?
I think I've heard... Listen, I think that I've seen your band... How many... Do you have any groupies who have seen the band perform, let's say, thousands of times?
Oh, well, I don't know if they call...
Well, listen, if I was an usher at the Paramount Theater.
You are?
That's right.
In New York.
So that I must have seen your band.
Oh, my God. You saw it more than I did.
That's right. I've seen the band, actually, thousands of times. And the many times you played the Paramount Theater in New York, which obviously is no longer there.
Well, my gosh. I hope you didn't hate it by the time you left.
No, actually, I can probably... I've probably memorized every record, every riff, and every solo, and when I hear you not doing it precisely the way it was originally recorded, I say, he's doing something different.
Yes.
When you're now rehearsing the band, of course, it will be here at the Cape Cod Melody Tent on June 28th.
That's right.
One show only. What does the band sound like, Benny? Is it precisely the way it used to sound?
Well, I wouldn't say exactly like that.
Yeah?
Oh, I think it has different qualities and some very good ones.
What's the average age of the guy who's playing?
Oh, I think it's around between 30 and 35.
Do they understand?
Oh, they certainly do.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
They really do.
There's no doubt about their understanding of the kind of beat, the tempos.
Well, I think they're just good musicians, you know. They take to it. This is approximately the same band that played on the PBS show about 2 or 3 months ago.
Well, I heard the PBS show, Benny, and the band sounds just the same. I mean, it sounds like you want it to sound. And
I think so. We spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah, how precise is this? Because in some of the readings and writings about Benny, they say, hey, he's a hard taskmaster, but he's patient. He's patient, but he's a hard taskmaster. He wants to sound precisely right. He might go over one phrase over and over again until it gets precisely correct.
Well, I think that's my idea of how to rehearse. If you have some kind of a point you're trying to make, and in order to play those kind of arrangements like Fletcher Henderson's, I think you have to do that. Of course, you can throw it all away, this preciseness, when you start to play. And I think we have that, too, a kind of abandonment when you play.
Well, is there a tendency on the part of some of the musicians who are in that age bracket that you mentioned, 30 to 35, to want to move it forward a little bit, to sound like Buddy Rich and to sound like some of the big bands that are around today and not to get that precise sound that was really Goodman-esque?
Well, I don't hear that from the players who are playing with me. They're quite enthused and quite satisfied.
No, I hear some big bands.
Well, it's all good. It all comes down to, at least I guess I'm biased, but it comes down to good music. You have to play that way. Except in your own solos, then you can do whatever you want to do. It's sensible.
Benny, how many years did you play the Paramount Theater, just for my own recollection?
Well, let me see. I don't remember how many years, but I'll tell you how many shows we used to play every week. It's unbelievable. We played around 4 shows a day on a slow day. So that would be times 7, 4 would be 28 shows a week.
And you played the Paramount for many years. I mean, it was.
Oh, yes.
And I know that Artie Shaw used to be up the street at the Strand Theater at the time.
I guess so, yes.
And he also was a hard taskmaster. I spoke to him rather recently too. Indicated that he was a hard taskmaster when it came to rehearsals and precision, and wanted the band to sound precise. Were you friends, Benny?
Oh yes, we've always been friends. Yeah.
Still,
I don't get seen very much of Artie. He's on a different tangent with his band, etc.
Yeah, the band sounds very, very good. I mean, if I could just recall the obviously the recording techniques back in those days were not what they are today. So the band sounds even more alive. It has obviously a better recording sound as well.
Nowadays, you think?
Yes.
Well,
I mean,
it could be.
I don't mean it sounds better. Only the engineering sounds better is what I'm trying to say. The band, obviously, in those great albums you made in those days, sounded crisp and sharp and all of that. How many mics did you work with when you recorded in the 30s?
We didn't use very many at all. I think the most we ever used was 2 microphones, 2 or 3 the most.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And
I think the engineers in those days knew exactly what we wanted. They were sort of part of the performance.
Mm-hmm.
They knew exactly what we wanted, and they knew when it wasn't going right or whatever. And they helped a great deal. Everybody had the same point of view.
And when you record these days with all these tracks, do you get the feeling it's not precisely the way you wanted to hear because you're standing up in front of the band and what they're doing is maneuvering various instruments and sections?
That can happen quite a bit. Of course, the last record we put out was with the Musical Heritage Society.
Yes.
And that was from the television show.
Yes.
So that was exactly the way we wanted it to be. You follow?
I know there are some classical musicians, a violinist I know particularly, who records in Europe, and he only really wants to make it sound like it was on the stage, rather than, manipulating the various tracks and making it sound simply, for home usage, so-called.
You mean editing and that kind of thing?
That's right, yes, yeah. Making it sound electronic, in effect,
yeah.
When it really are all instruments of various quality, and he really gets upset by hearing how the engineers and producers have maneuvered.
Well, they can stick their nose right into it.
That's what I mean, see?
I think it's a hardship some of the musicians go to, particularly if you rehearse, and you've got all the shading. You want the music and the different shading. He's playing loud and soft, etc. And then an engineer comes in and you've got a new band.
Exactly. That's what I mean. So when you hear the original Goodman recordings, you're hearing them as they were precisely recorded.
Exactly.
And when you hear possibly new recordings today, you're hearing it manipulated by producers and engineers.
Well, that's a whole business, particularly in the rock business.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is there anything in that kind of music you hear that you like? Any great musicians around that I haven't heard of?
That you missed that I should know?
That's right, yes. I'd like to find out who they are.
You tell me and then I'll let you know.
There are some great musicians around today.
There are, sure. There's an awful lot of good musicians around.
Because I keep hearing from people of my own generation, hey, let's bring back the big bands. And I say, wait a minute. There's still a lot of great musicians and great music being played today. And I hear it. Do you hear any of these things contemporarily outside of the old Woody Herman band? And we hear Maynard Ferguson still playing and Buddy Rich, of course.
Yeah. Well, I think you've named it then, and Artie's band. And then the leaders who are now playing the music of the dead musicians. Oh, I'm dead and forever. Sorry way to put it. Count Basie, etc.
Yeah, listen, looking at some of the musicians you've played with, a lot of them are not around anymore.
That's true.
And you've played with some of the greats, I mean, really greats. Let me break for just a moment, come back with Benny Goodman. He'll be with his band for one appearance on June 28th at the Cape Cod Melody Tent, one show. And we'll be back with Benny Goodman here in a moment here on WRKO, the talk station.
If you listen very closely to Dad this week, you might just be able to figure out what he really wants for Father's Day.
You know, there's not room left in this closet for one more tie. Wish my stomach were that full.
Yep, it's those subtle hints that fathers use to communicate their deepest wishes.
Oh, a new hammer would be nice, but it's not really something I can sink my teeth into.
Just might be Dad's a little tired of all those old gifts and is looking for something...
You know, I'm looking for something a little meatier, something that displays good taste. A gift I can really eat up.
Maybe what Dad wants for Father's Day is a delicious gift pack from Hickory Farm.
Ever tell you about my boyhood on the farm? Surrounded by hickory trees? It was sort of a hickory farm.
As a matter of fact, this Dad definitely wants a gift pack from Hickory Farms. And there's one just right for the Dad on your list, too. All you have to do is decipher those subtle hints and you'll hear...
What a surprise! I'm shocked. I'm flattered. Well, how'd you know? You're a mind reader. How'd you guess?
This Father's Day, get Dad a gift pack from Hickory Farm.
You shouldn't have.
Checking traffic once again on the Jerry Williams Show, brought to you by the Boston Globe. RKO listeners, southbound Route 128, our mobile 6 spent an hour in traffic from the Mass Turnpike extension down to Needham to Highland Avenue because of that overturned tractor-trailer. Now 2 lanes are getting by, but traffic is backed up almost to Route 20, so you can expect some real long delays there, as also on the Mystic Tobin Bridge now backing up through the center span. The Sumner Tunnel also heavy and slow, but doing a little bit better. Also some heavy delays on the lower deck of 93 and Sorrow Drive. Cambridge Parkway does better. The usual delays downtown, both sides of the artery and the expressway, about a 15, 17-minute ride, Braintree to Boston to Braintree. Malcolm Alter in the RKO Conference.
If you think the bank is the best place to get money, the Boston Globe has news for you. News about personal finance, taxes, investments, and more in the money section every Thursday in the Globe.
If you're a homeowner and you need a loan, call up the loan depot, pick up the phone. 963-6363, homeowners. If you need a loan, we're helping homeowners all over the state keep all their dreams alive. Call now, don't wait. We can help you in every way. Homeowners, do it today. 963-6363. If you're a homeowner and you need a loan. 963-6363. 963-6363. 963-6363.
Benny, do you know who arranged that one?
Oh, you certainly do. That was Fletcher Henderson.
Mm-hmm. Fletcher Henderson had there was certain quality about the things he did.
He really had a quality. He was a genius, really.
Yeah.
And I still play a lot of his arrangements. I play most of his arrangements.
Do you? What do you play? What are you playing in this band?
Well, we play that one, If I Could Be With You. We play Down South Camp Meeting.
How about Big John Special?
Well, that's a good idea. We'll play that.
Yeah.
Whistle it to me.
Big John Special. Well, how about Airmail Special?
Well, that's not Fletcher's.
Yeah. Was that not Fletcher's? Or something else then? Airmail Special was played by the Sextet, was it not?
And that was Charlie Christian.
That's right. That's right. Sorry about that.
Well, we got King Porter Stomp. That's Fletcher.
Yeah.
Rosetta's. His whole arrangement of Stardust.
You know what really used to...
New Kind of Love to Me.
Yeah.
And Rodgers and Hart, what was that called?
I tell you what...
Blue Room. He did a lot of wonderful things.
Yeah, and Fletcher, Charlie Christian did Besides Airmail Special.
That's right, yes.
But that was done with a group, of course.
That was it, yes.
I'm trying to remember back to the things that really used to turn the crowd on at the Paramount. Bugle Call Rag.
Yeah, we always used to open with that.
Yeah, and Life Goes to a Party.
That's right.
And I think
Harry James.
Yeah, and I think the one that really used to turn me on anyway at the time was something called Roll 'em.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That Mary Lou Williams. That was an expression they used to use in Kansas City, and that was somebody'd walk in the cafe where the band was playing, it'd be 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning, they'd say, roll 'em.
Yeah. And of course, the inimitable 1 o'clock jump, which used to do it. I know that Count Basie was still playing it and played. Are you still playing it? Still using it?
No, I don't play it. No.
Are you working with a trio and with a quartet?
Well, we work whatever we feel like. It might be a quartet, it might be a sextet. Some good players in the group.
Yeah, now, since you had so many really superstars that came with the band and then left, were they ever tough to handle, making them an ensemble? It would seem to me that trying to keep Harry James from...
They weren't very tough to handle. You just gave them their own way, and they went with the band, they'd leave.
Everybody wanted to be a leader.
Sure.
Don't you remember those days, the old days of Sammy Kaye? That was his bit. So you want to lead a band. So they just left. Is that it?
Well, amidst a certain amount of misgivings,
Yeah.
I think it was the only way to handle it.
And there were, but a fantastic trumpet section did Ziggy Elman, Harry James, and Chris Griffin all play in the same section?
Absolutely.
Holy mackerel!
They were something.
That was some, real section. Do you ever? I don't. Did you ever think in those days when you were playing that the band should be bigger, or was it big in the sense that it was big for the 30s?
Well, I don't think it had to change anything.
Yeah.
It was big enough.
Adding a trumpet, making the brass section like 10 feet long?
No, I never liked that.
No.
I think you get away with, it covers a lot of sins then. But the real thing is to play with 5, and you're on a thin line, and everything has to be correct. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Well, just recently, I'm not quite sure where it was on television that I did see you receive an award. What was was it a music award of some sort? Recently on television? A very special Lifetime Award?
Oh, you mean that was the Grammys?
At the Grammys.
The Grammys,
yes. Being surrounded with artists from every possible branch of the music business at that point, how does one feel to receive that kind of an award amidst people who maybe weren't even alive when you were playing?
Well, it's quite a thrill, I must say, to be awarded something like that from your peers. Although an awful lot of rock and roll going on.
That's right, an awful lot of it.
Well, of course, they had one good jazz sequence, didn't they, this time?
That's true.
For the first time in a long time.
Yeah. When you see old movies of the band, do you sense something when you see it yourself? I mean, I had Steve Allen here recently, and I think I was the only guy who knew that he parted his hair on the other side to play Benny Goodman.
I just discovered it myself.
You did?
Yeah, I don't remember that.
What side do you part your hair on?
On the left side.
On the left side?
Yeah.
Well, Steve used to part his hair on the right side.
He did?
And in order to do you...
And how much he had to give up to play my part? And for what?
I just wonder whether or not when you saw that I'm trying to think of how old that film is. It's got to be 25, 30 years old.
Something like that, yeah.
Were you happy with it or you're not? It was a different movie, a different era of movies, obviously.
Well, Hollywood, but the music was very, very good.
Yeah, the music was very good, yeah?
Very good.
And I think Steve did the best he could. Did you see a film, Betty, called New York, New York?
Oh, I remember. That was De Niro, wasn't it?
Yes,
he was a tenor player.
Yeah.
And then, who was it, played the tenor in music? Georgie Auld.
Yeah, that's right. Georgie Auld, who used to play tenor with Artie Shaw.
That's right.
Played the music for De Niro. And De Niro, I thought, did an amazing job, Benny.
Looked terrific. He really looked like the real thing.
Yeah, was his fingering correct?
Well, I wasn't close enough.
But it amazes me what a fantastic job that he did, and he must have gone over that music over and over, a non-musician, to be able to play the Georgie Auld sounds.
Yeah, but he tell me he does everything that way, whatever part he plays.
Yes.
He really kind of, some way, gets himself right in it.
Well, is that you're still playing, obviously you're still playing. Do you sense that you're playing better at this stage of the game or worse?
No, I'm playing quite well.
Yeah?
Well, yeah, sure.
I don't hear any loss. I mean, I can hear singers sometimes when they lose their vibrato, but I don't hear anything, any loss at all, Benny. I would tell you if I did.
Well, all right, I'll take your word.
But I mean, you're sensitive to your own sound. I mean, you can hear your own, what you're doing.
Well, that's right. The only thing is, I wouldn't like to play 4 shows a day at the Paramount.
Hey, listen, I had to walk up and down the aisles and keep everybody in their seats. I mean, that was a wild era, was it not?
Yes, in a way, but on the other hand, quite peaceful compared to what goes on now.
Well, that's for sure. But,
isn't that true?
But at the time, it was sensed as, dancing in the aisles at the Paramount Theater or swooning over Sinatra when he was singing with Tommy Dorsey.
That's right. He played his first engagement with me at the Paramount.
That's right. That's right. And it was a good band, too. Eventually came into the Dorsey brothers and whatever. The fact is that the band is sounding sensational. I want you to know that. And you are sounding, again, as if I didn't know it was recorded today, I would think it was just Goodman, just plain Goodman.
Well, that's a good compliment. I appreciate it.
Now, how about any classical things? Are you doing any classical?
Yes, I am. I'm playing that mostly Mozart festival this year.
No kidding. Where are you? Where will it be?
It'll be over at Lincoln Center. Avery Fisher Hall.
Very good.
I have two albums out right now of the Brahms and two Brahms, one the trio, one the quintet, and a Weber quintet, and the Beethoven trio.
So I sense that you really enjoy doing that.
I love it.
That you really enjoy. I've since I'm involved in talking every day of the week, and you're involved in playing music, I've always regretted somehow not being able to talk more with people like yourself and like Pablo Casals and other great musicians and artists who have passed from the scene and have never told us about themselves or what they liked and put it down in sort of an oral musical history, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
So I really regret, particularly in the case of Casals, I only saw one conversation with Casals ever, and of course Casals is a genius. And I regret that many more musicians of your quality and your experience and background do not offer, to the world your thoughts as well as your music to future generations.
Well, they have programs like that. I think they got one at Yale, oral history, and one at Columbia University, and there's still time.
Yeah, have you done anything like that yet?
Not really.
Yeah?
No. But,
I think it's you ought to give that some consideration. Just to make sure that Goodman.
Well, I think that's a good idea, especially coming from you.
Yeah, and I sense that's a good thing to do, and that kind of history in your own voice should be available for people who want to pick your brain, so to speak, and hear what your thoughts and theories are all during the long time you've lived.
Good idea.
Would you mind talking to a few fans, Benny?
Really? No?
Huh? Would you mind?
No, not at all.
Right, I'm gonna take a short break and come back with Benny Goodman. Benny will be at the Cape Cod Melody Tent, one show only. Of course, I'm going to be there. It'll be June 28th. And Benny Goodman's on the line with us. A great treat for me, being a Benny Goodman fan. And if you'd like to make a comment, you're welcome to do so at 4:30 here on WRKO, the talk station.
What's so super about NHD? Super prices and quality. Great selection with so much more. NHD, the super hardware store.
Ah, the lazy days of summer. It feels great to relax, knowing that I saved lots of money this season at NHD. For example, I picked up this plush Keller 5-piece patio set for just $279.95. I saved $62. The set includes 4 chairs and a 40-inch white glass top table. And I got a double power electronic bug killer for only $12.99 after a $2 rebate. With 8 watts of high-intensity light and an easy twist-off collection tray, my yard should be bug-free all summer. With NHD around this season, it's smooth sailing all the way.
NHD, the super hardware store.
Visit the NHD near you.
Daniel, what do we get, Dad?
It's America's greatest dad sale at Sears.
How about a race car? Or a horse.
How about colorful solid knit sports shirts at just $9.99? You save $6.
Or a puppy.
Flex slacks, shoes, sport coats, pajamas, and more at Sears America's Greatest Dad Sale through Saturday.
What a great shirt. Thanks, kids.
Yeah, they were out of race cars.
There's more for your life during our new century.
At Sears.
Your Kind of Talk with Jerry Williams, weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. here on WRKO. WRKO.
This man just had his traveler's check stolen. But instead of going for a refund, he's going for a swim in the hotel pool. Because American Express is delivering a refund right to him. That's right, American Express delivers traveler's check refunds in under 3 hours in 72 major U.S. cities. So before you take off around America, remember, if you need a traveler's check refund, only one kind can bring it down to the pool. American Express. Don't leave home without them.
The sweet smell of success doesn't happen overnight. Whether you drive a truck or run a company, you know what it takes to make it in this world. So do the men of Macanudo. It takes them more than 2 years to make the ultimate cigar. And a Macanudo is the ultimate, because it's still made from the finest tobacco leaves in the world. Still made step by step by hand, just the way the first Macanudo was made over 100 years ago. No wonder more and more men are discovering that this is the cigar with the sweet smell of success. This Father's Day, ask your favorite smoke shop for the box of Macanudos that was made for you. Because a man has it made with a Macanudo, the ultimate cigar.
Excuse me, darling, but I couldn't help notice your lovely smile.
Thank you.
And look at that rolling around in your mouth in the middle of that smile.
It's candy.
Would that be a sorbet hard candy, a sorbet sugar-free hard candy?
It's strawberry.
And I bet it tastes absolutely marvelous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, darling, sorbet sugar-free hard candy and lollipops are sugar-free, salt-free, and have naturally marvelous fruit flavor.
Wanna try?
And did I tell you, I must tell you this, that sorbet sugar-free hard candy and lollipops are so adorably low in calories to help you keep that marvelous figure. You know, sometimes I go wild. I really do, with sorbet wild fruit. What a marvelous all-natural taste.
My name is Jill.
Jill, darling, did I meet you in Cannes or was it Monte Carlo? I tell you what, I will meet you in 20 years and we will have lunch. We will, right?
Everyone's a sucker for sorbet sugar-free hard candy and lollipops.
Sorbet, great-tasting, sugar-free hard candy and lollipops available at Ann and Hope. That was Benny at the Carnegie Hall concert, 1938. Title, Benny?
Yeah, that was it, yes.
Big John special.
This was one of the encores, I think.
Really nice, lilting, swinging sound, as they say. And Benny Goodman is with us, and he'll be at the Cape Cod Melody Tent June 28th, 8:31 show, and we'll take some of the fan calls now. 266-6868. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Well, I am one of the fans. I mean, one of your fans and one of Benny's fans.
Thank you.
I want to give Benny credit for giving a electric guitar player his first chance to do an awful lot of soloing on records, and no one ever knew of him. That's Charlie Christian. And I'd like to know how great a reader Charlie Christian was, Benny.
Reader? Oh, you got me. I haven't any idea. I would guess that he wasn't a great reader, but he could play.
You took a chance with electric guitar. It's the first time, I think, some of the first recordings of electric guitar, a few people don't know.
Is that true, Benny?
Well, I guess so.
A few people don't know that the electric guitar was in its infancy at that time. And here you took a fella from Texas that, as far as I know, didn't have...
He was Oklahoma. I'll have to correct you.
Okay, very much background at all, and put him right in the middle of an awful lot of jazz swingers, including yourself. And you worked yourself around them. And I know that Jerry just mentioned a couple of songs that he wrote.
Airmail Special, yeah.
Right, and I think it was a wonderful thing. And I think a lot of these kids that are plunking away at the guitar, they ought to do their homework and realize that the guitar's been around an awful long time.
Hey, listen, if they heard some of those Charlie Christian solos, they sound just as fresh
That's
as
right.
they, when they were recorded today.
That's right.
Benny, any comment about Charlie Christian?
Oh, he was just the best, that's all.
All right, next caller. Go ahead for Benny Goodman with Charlie Christian. Your calls. Hello.
Yes, how are you, Mr. Williams?
A little louder, please.
How are you, Mr. Williams?
Fine, thank you.
Mr. Goodman, it's a pleasure to speak to you. I was a musician a few years back, and I played around Boston, and I saw something on Channel 2 which was very interesting, and I never realized that the gentleman who was doing a commentary on a program that you were on said that you were either the first one or one of the first leaders to break the color line, where you had mixed races, and I think that's a great thing. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. You didn't know it yourself?
Well, I never knew it. Of course, you know, I was always aware of the group that you had with Hampton, and I think Krupa was in it. Is that
Teddy Wilson.
Teddy Wilson,
and
yeah.
Teddy Wilson.
Yeah.
And I thought that was great, and in fact, that was my next statement. In fact, when I used to study, one of the things that was given to me to study styles of pianists was Sweet Sue in the Key of G, wasn't it, by Teddy Wilson?
That could be.
It was the solo, I think, that he took possibly on
a quartet record.
Yes, and also I'd like to mention, was the name Mel Powell who played with you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, he was wonderful.
Great technique.
Yeah, great pianist, yeah.
How long did he play with you, Benny? Bill Powell?
Well, let me see. He was interrupted. He went to war. He went to the war.
It was later on then. It was in the late 30s.
Yes, almost the 40s.
Uh-huh.
Yes, he was 16 years old when he went with me.
Is that right?
Yeah, 16 or 17. He was then the dean or the president of a liberal arts school in California.
Who was the first, since this gentleman brought up the emergence of black musicians with white musicians, who was the first black man who was hired by the Goodman Band?
You mean on a steady basis?
Yes, on a steady basis, yeah.
Oh, on a steady basis. I think it was Teddy Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Teddy Wilson.
Who else was there, Benny? Obviously, it was Lionel Hampton.
Lionel Hampton. Well, that was really the organized band part of it. And then Charlie Christian.
Yeah, was there a
Woody Williams and quite a few.
I see. Were there people warning you against doing that at the time?
Oh, I don't think so. If they did, it didn't make any difference to me.
I mean, there were no repercussions of it as you took the band on the road in places where maybe would not be welcome?
No, we announced what we had and what we were going to do and what we were going to play with what people. And it was either we did it that way or forget it.
All right, next caller, please, for Benny Goodman here on WRKO at 20 minutes.
You're going to make me a jockey, are you?
What was that?
You're going to make me a jockey, huh?
What do you mean by a jockey? All right, hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
I have a book that has all of the recordings that this man was on, and I'd like to know if he knows if there are going to be any like updates to that book. It's the Connors Hicks book.
Oh,
all of the records that you recorded from the time that you started with Ben Pollock in the 20s.
Yes.
And
talking about
have you heard anything about that book being updated?
It is being updated now by Russ Connors, and I think it's going to be put out by the Rutgers University Press.
Oh, yeah, the Jazz Studies with Dan Morgenstern.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Another question.
That's an amazing book, by the way.
Oh, it's incredible.
Incredible work in there.
The thing that I really wanted to ask, and I don't know how to ask this because the man is on the same par with you, in my opinion, Gene Krupa. I play drums with a big band in the summer concerts down in Plymouth, and he's like got to be my first idol I ever had. Though people today coming out of colleges have unbelievable technique, this is the man who put everything on the map for the drummers. And does Mr. Connors give an appropriate scenario in 1938, the reasons that he left to start his own band? Because I've read all over the place that he praises you and you've praised him and you were supposedly very good friends. Does he put it into perspective of the time that Gene Krupa actually quit your band at the Earl Theater because of a bad feeling, or did he just say, well, I've been here for so long, I want to get my own thing going?
All right, let's get an answer from Benny. What was the real circumstances, Benny?
Well, I think there was a certain amount of temperament on both sides.
Yeah.
And I think we've both taken a vacation of 2 weeks and been perfectly cleared up. But we did split, but we were always good friends after that.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Back with Betty Goodman in a moment here on WRKO, the talk station, 17 minutes before 5. When you're in need of funds for a provident purpose, see the credit union nearest you. You're going to receive warm and friendly service and understanding. The credit union will advise you of the least expensive way to borrow the funds you need and the least burdensome way to repay your loan. You will be able to borrow for a vacation or get a personal loan, automobile loan, a loan to consolidate bills, real estate home equity loans, or a first mortgage loan or any other kind of consumer loan. Now, if you want to get to the credit union nearest you, call the Credit Union League of Massachusetts, 894-2856. You will be referred to the credit union nearest you. That credit union will provide you with the funds you need at low rates and at affordable repayments. 894-2856. This information is provided to you by the Boston chapter of the Credit Union League of Massachusetts. So visit your credit union. That's where you belong. Your telephone call will save you money. 894-2856.
Well, folks, school's out for summer. We're home.
That can't be.
3 months of just you and the kids. Day and night, night and day.
That can't be.
Check your calendar.
America, Apple Computer regrets to inform you that school is out. However, Apple Computer is happy to announce the Apple Summer Break.
Yay!
For parents.
Yay!
Just qualify for our Apple credit card and you can get an Apple II system with no money down, no payments, and no finance charges till September.
I'm bored. Let's paint Dad's car.
While your kids are using their new Apple IIe or IIc for education, you can be using it to watch your bank account, do word processing, even print community flyers. And there are cash rebates on select peripherals, software, and more. So hurry, because summers tend to be over before you know it.
Guess what, kids? First day of school.
It can't be.
Check your calendar.
Subject to credit approval. Offer only good on Apple II purchases between May 12 and July 31, 1986. In September, up to 21.6% APR finance charge accrues with up to a 50-cent minimum.
Sports Call is your kind of talk. Today, following Jerry Williams. Jerry Williams. Here on WRKO. WRKO.
Daddy, dear old Daddy, you've been more than a mother to me. Hey, you know what Sunday is, don't you? It's Father's Day, of course, and here I am, Daddy's little helper, Frank, from your friendly Family Center stores with a whole...
Tearing the house out of the ground. It's flying away in the sky.
Don't let the summer heat ruin your home. Get an Emerson Quiet Cool Room Air Conditioner, America's perfect roommate. Look for our Made in the USA label.
You got to admit, honey, it's cooler than it was.
Now available at Pierce Refrigeration, 439 East Center Street in West Bridgewater. That also is the quartet, Benny, right?
Yeah, exactly. Say, Jerry.
Yes.
Hey, we got to cut out pretty soon.
Yes, about 5 minutes.
Otherwise, I won't make that job up at Cape Cod.
Well, just take another 5 minutes. Your fans are lined up here, and I'll let you loose, all right? Next caller for Benny Goodman.
Hello?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Jerry.
Yes.
This has got to be one of your top
Will you talk a little louder right into the phone?
This has got to be one of your top 5 programs of all time.
That's just because you like Benny Goodman.
Well, that's one of the reasons I called. I just wanted to say to Mr. Goodman, thank you very much for many, many years of enjoyment. I appreciate all that he's done, and I will continue to appreciate it. I do want to say to you, Jerry, that if Mr. Goodman ever blew a clinker, which I seriously doubt he ever did. It probably sounded better than anybody else's snatch from Cole.
How do you like that for a compliment, Benny?
Bill Sam, thank you very much. I like all the Boston accents, too.
Incidentally, one of my favorite arrangements is one that very few people know about, and it's called Minnie the Moocher's Wedding Day.
Oh, yeah.
That's got to be one of the finest band arrangements I've ever heard.
Is that in the repertoire these days, Benny?
Yes, it is.
It is?
Yeah.
I see. Well, maybe you can include it down on the Cape.
I'll try to.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Next call for Benny Goodman here on WRKO. Hello.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi there.
Mr. Goodman, how are you?
Well, very well, thank you.
A couple of years ago, I was down at the South Shore Music Theater, and in between numbers you were playing, and suddenly, just waiting, you started to play Bring in the Clowns. It sounded so beautiful. It wasn't even on the program.
Send in the clowns.
It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
But I must tell you something. You may not even recall it. I was going overseas in World War II, and I was standing on the side of the ship, and we were plowing along, and there was a young fellow I was with, and he was a musician. We were talking about music, and he said, I played with Benny Goodman in some chamber music. I said, Benny Goodman in chamber music? He said he loved the classics. Now, you may not know him. His name was Jorge Oller. O-L-L-E-R. And he,
O-L-L-E-R?
Yeah, Jorge Oller.
I'll be darned.
And he said he was one of the greatest contributors to chamber music I've ever heard, and one of the most magnificent musicians I've ever heard. Now, you know, I know you've met so many people in terms of your career, but it just struck me. It was such a... he paid you such encomiums in terms of being a great...
Benny, you're still playing chamber music, aren't you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm going to play some in August.
Well, very good. All right. Thank you very much, sir. 266-6868. Benny Goodman with us. Hello.
Hi.
Yes, sir.
Benny Goodman. I remember the first expense that I ever had in my life was $11.90 for the 38 Carnegie Hall concert. And it was either that or go out on New Year's with a red-haired girl. And
are you sure you did the right thing?
I still have the record. I don't think I would still have the red-haired girl. I am going down to my own college's big band. I'm a drummer, and it was a band started by Les Brown, later taken over by Johnny Long, Sonny Burt.
Oh yes.
Pat Williams and others.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to it. I don't know whether I can read. I don't even know whether I can cut it anymore, but I'm looking forward to going back to...
was that down at U Duke?
Yes, sir.
That was a great institution for that.
We had 50 years of big bands until I guess they fell out of disfavor or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna get back there. Les is gonna fly in from the coast on Saturday night.
Really? Well, give him my best, will you?
I certainly will.
All right, thank you very much. I do want to thank Benny Goodman. I must admit, Benny, back when I was in the 50s and still doing radio in the afternoons, I had a small group I used to work with at night. It was a quartet, and we played at Charlie Ventura's open house, and the trio on the bill was the Gene Krupa Trio.
Exactly, with Charlie Ventura at the time.
With Charlie used to play bass saxophone, baritone, tenor, and anything else you could throw in, and Teddy Napoleon was playing piano.
Yes, exactly.
So I played with the great Gene Krupa. I didn't play with him, of course, but I played with the great Gene Krupa Trio in those days and got to know Gene very well. He's a very nice man, and he obviously was awesome in those early days.
Yes, terrific. Well, Jerry.
Well, thank you. Listen, we're going to be seeing you on the 28th of June.
Absolutely. Thank you very kindly for this interview and for introducing me to a good deal of my fans. I've never done that before on radio.
Well, why not?
Thank you very much.
It's time, and I hope that you will consider doing that oral history of Benny Goodman and your recollections and thoughts about your own musical life in the country.
On top of the agenda, okay?
Thank you, Benny.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Benny Goodman, ladies and gentlemen, the Cape Cod Melody 10, June 28th, 8:31 show.